10 TV following breaking news this afternoon out of Vinton County.
Any minute now, the Vinton County prosecutor providing an update right now. Take a listen.
A couple of points that needed to be addressed. First, the Siders cases, they are Vinton County cases. We have appreciated the support of the state and the Ohio Attorney General, but they continue to be Vinton County cases, and all decisions will be made by my office. The Attorney General did offer assistance and has agreed to provide an assistant AG. Her name is Keating, and yesterday motion was filed to have her appointed special prosecutor to assist me in the prosecution. Also, Anneka Collins, who is a Highland County prosecuting attorney, I also filed a motion to have her appointed as a special prosecutor, as she was an old colleague of mine when I worked in Highland County. Both of these women are outstanding prosecutors with extensive experience in child cases, and they will do nothing but help our team progress through these cases. The other thing finally on that point is, for the taxpayers, these special prosecutors come at no cost to Vinton County. They've either volunteered or they're being paid by their respective offices. Point number 2. I think most of you are aware now that Gary Siders Sr., the older Gary Siders, was provided with a bond today, an OR bond. Let me explain the circumstances around that. First, let me stress, the community is not at risk because of this bond. Yesterday, as you all know, the cases were scheduled for preliminary hearing. During the transport, Mr. Siders fell and had a medical issue that required treatment and assessment. O'Blennis Hospital was where he was taken, and it was determined at that point upon some tests that O'Blennis did that Mr. Siders Sr. has a serious medical condition that requires specialized care in a hospital outside of this area. Practically, and I don't know if you folks know this or not, but when defendants are housed in county jails, it is the county's responsibility to pay for the medical care. Prisons are for defendants who have been convicted. Then the state pays for it. But he is still an innocent man that has not been convicted yet. So the county was going to be on the hook for his medical care. And again, based on the information that we were provided, his medical care could potentially bankrupt Vinton County. We were not going to put that burden also on our local taxpayers, and so it was agreed that we would do a recognizance bond so he could get the medical treatment that the doctors say he needs, and won't cost the county that money. If he's released from the hospital, he will then be equipped with a GPS monitor. Also, if you haven't already noticed on the docket, his defense attorney did file competency motions, as I'm sure you have noticed from the proceedings in which he's been present. There's certainly been some issues about his ability to go forward on the prosecution, and so his defense attorney decided to file those motions to have him assessed. That is all that I have at this point. I'm willing to answer briefly questions related to that. I will stress with you, our office has specifically not addressed the factual nature of this case because it is still under investigation. There's a lot of information still out there, and in fairness to the defendants, particularly to the victims and to the community, we're not releasing information until it's appropriate to do so. Again, having said that, I'll address whatever questions there might be. Yes, ma'am.
Siders Sr.'s attorney had criticized comments made by your office and state officials saying you were trying to try the case in the court of public opinion. How would you respond to those comments from his attorney?
Mr. Baum filed a second response and indicated the comments were not made by me. And I made that clear. If you go back and review the comments that I made, I simply laid out what happened in court and that it wasn't human trafficking because that was a major issue to the community, and I wanted to make sure they knew this was not human trafficking.
What type of expensive care does Gary Sr. need? What kind of test, what kind of care is he going to?
You know that that's a HIPAA issue, and that's not anything that I can address.
Elizabeth's attorney has expressed concerns that she could be a victim in this case. Is that something your office
According to her attorney, she's not a victim. So we'll let him decide how he wants to address his representation of her. I'm sorry, ma'am. No.
Are there any questions about the mental capacity of the other suspects?
Capacity?
Yeah.
Again, that's up to their defense attorneys to whether they want to go down that road or not. So that's a better question for them.
Social media has been a big part of this case. There's been a lot of attention online. Can you speak to how that impacts your office and how this is going?
If you've seen some of the stuff on the media, social media, there were pictures that the kids were in cages, that they were taped shut, their mouths, whatever. The problem with social media is you don't have to be telling the truth. You don't have to be saying anything that's accurate. I don't understand why people put stuff like this on. It's not truthful. It's not accurate, but I can't stop it, and all I can do is shrug my shoulders and say, why are we doing this to this, particularly to these victims, because they're going to be tarnished by this for a long part of their lives.
Can you share an update on the children's condition? Are they all out of the hospital or are they all in homes?
I can't answer that specifically, but I will tell you that they are all safe and being cared for.
Is there any evidence that Elizabeth Side may have had more than 16 children in her lifetime?
Again, I can't address that specific fact.
Were all 4 of these suspects receiving state benefits? If not all of them, who was?
To my knowledge, only the two elderly, the two oldest, Mr. Grandma and Grandpa, were the only ones I'm aware of that were receiving benefits at that time, at the time of this incident.
Are you still expecting more charges?
I don't know how much. That part, I don't know.
Are you still expecting more possible charges?
The investigation is ongoing.
When do you expect a grand jury indictment? Do you know when they meet next?
The grand jury is a secret process. We do not disclose specifics on that. We hope to be having information for that within the next couple of weeks. What I will tell you is, this is not Franklin County, who has grand juries every day practically. Normally, Vinton County has a grand jury every other month, which is why the preliminary hearing issue came up, is because we don't have grand jury that often, and by right, the defendants have the ability to have that hearing.
Has any testing been done to assure that all 16 children belong to the same person?
I can't address that.
Can you comment, Mr. Prosecutor, real quick, the relationship, or what you learned about the relationship of the deceased property owner and any member of the Siders family?
Other than being tenants, I don't know that there is any.
Were they tenants or were they squatters?
Wait a minute, oh, sorry, go
Were
ahead.
they tenants, were they paying rent, or were they squatters?
My understanding, they were paying rent, yes.
Did the children have birth certificates?
I don't know that we have all of their birth certificates. Let me answer that.
Were they all registered with the state?
Again, a little bit beyond what I can tell. I answered you what I know at this point.
Thank you.
Gary Sanders Jr. will be in court tomorrow for unrelated charges.
He will not. His defense attorney is on vacation and has filed to continue. So if you were planning on coming, I'll save you your time. That has been continued. I don't know what the new date is. Check with county court, but it is not happening tomorrow.
Was that the parallel investigation that brought investigation?
I can't answer that.
Do we know if anyone in the family was working, how his family got their income?
Again, we will get to some of those things when we have a little bit more of an ability to give you some more of the facts, but I can't get into that anymore.
Are there any federal agencies are involved in this investigation?
How many agencies?
Can you speak to if there's any federal agencies involved in this investigation?
No, not to my knowledge.
Do you know of any children's services safety checks conducted at that home, be it Franklin County, be it Vinton County? Was there any mandatory reporting, especially by hospitals or medical officials?
Again, I can't address that, sorry.
The indecency charges, can you share any more about that investigation and the allegations he's facing when it comes to that?
I can't. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
As you have been listening live, the Vinton County prosecutor giving an update in the child endangerment case we've been following involving 16 children discovered last week in one home there in Vinton County.
So that was Vinton County Prosecutor William Archer. Clearly wanting to give an update, and it sounds like he wanted to update not only the media but also the public about the situation surrounding Gary Siders Sr., who was released on a recognizance bond, and he wanted to explain why. And it all surrounded what appears to be a medical situation involving the senior Siders family member.
It sounds like he had a fall, and so they needed to get him to the ER to evaluate kind of his situation there, and in that process also discovered that they were dealing with a specialized care that would be needed for a medical issue. So that is why he is no longer in jail at this hour. So that was one of the things he wanted to update everyone on, but also updating on the special prosecutors that will now be joining him in prosecuting this case as it moves forward, pulling people from different counties.
Yes, he listed one of them, which was Highland County Prosecutor Anneka Collins, who he said he's worked with before. So she is one person that is now going to be assisting him as a special prosecutor. Also, Keating, who is a special prosecutor from the AG's office. So he is getting help from different offices, but Archer was very clear to let people know this is a Vinton County case. This is a Vinton County investigation. The state is assisting, but all information and the core unit, if you will, of who are the investigators, who's handling this case from here on out is all going to be through Vinton County.
Some of the other things that we heard in this news conference just now, we had a lot of questions you heard there within after he updated everyone. He would not respond to questions about the conditions of the children, the 16 children, and whether or not they're even still in the hospital. All he would say is that today they are safe. So we did not get any updates on their conditions or even where they are at this point, if they're still in the hospital.
Exactly. And also the questions of whether or not there would be more charges coming. That is something we heard from the get-go, that potentially there are additional charges on top of the 16 counts that each family member is facing. All Archer would say is that that investigation is ongoing.
Let's take a look at how we got here. June 30th, law enforcement executed a search warrant at the home on Omer Street, and that's where rescuers discovered the 16 children in, quote, deplorable conditions, living in a 12 by 12 room. And the children's ages ranged from 18 months to 18 years. 2 of the children were flown to hospitals that same day. That's when 4 family members, Gary Siders Sr., Gary Siders Jr., Christina Siders, and Elizabeth Siders, were arrested and initially charged with child endangerment. The 4 family members have all pleaded not guilty, and a judge set their bond at $300,000 each.
Now, we also know Gary Siders Sr., again, taken to an Athens hospital. That happened on Tuesday. Doctors then recommended that he be transferred to a larger hospital that could offer him the specialized care that he needed that was available outside of the Vinton County area. A judge changed his bond then to a $300,000 recognizance bond, and the county prosecutor today said there was a reason why. He said if Siders Sr. was still under their care, it would be paid for by county taxpayers. And the quote he said was, it would bankrupt the county if he was still under their care, which is why they had to switch it to that recognizance bond. So again, he's being evaluated. They're also trying to see if he might be suffering from perhaps a mental health issue that could affect his ability to stand trial.
We want to go now live to 10 TV reporter Carla Rogner, who joins us live outside of the courthouse. Carla, you were there inside. We heard you asking questions and pressing for answers in this case. Tell us your big takeaways from today.
Yeah, well, I will tell you there are still so many questions that we have about this case and what these children might have endured. This courtroom here was packed with news media from Columbus, West Virginia, Cincinnati. There's been so much interest in this case from the internet, even from all across the country. Now, the prosecutor said his name is William Archer. He's the Vinton County prosecutor. He wanted to have this press conference to clear up a couple things about how this case will move forward. We learned yesterday that he's brought in the assistant attorney general to serve on this case, and then the Highland County prosecutor will also serve on this case as well. He says he knows both of them, has worked with them before, and he is bringing them in, but he will still be the main prosecutor here and make the decisions on this case. There's also the big question of when they could face a grand jury indictment. He says it's not like Franklin County and Vinton County here. They usually only have grand jury once every other month. So this really shows you, this is a small county here in Ohio, and this is a big case that they are dealing with right now. We also got to ask some questions about the children, how they're doing, but we got the same answers that we've been getting since last week, that they're safe and being cared for. It's still unclear if any of them are in the hospital, their conditions. We didn't get to ask about their communication abilities, but that's a big question that we've had as well. The new things that we've learned today on the defendants, we did learn that Gary Sider Sr., he is out of jail. He has been released on a recognizance bond. He was taken to a hospital in Athens and then taken to a larger hospital. We don't exactly know where, but they said that there was some testing that was done that identified some larger issues that he needs treatment for. And the prosecutor explained the reason for the recognizance bond that they did grant is that the treatment he needs is expensive. He wouldn't clarify on what that is. Of course, that is medically protected by HIPAA there. But he did say that the care that they would have to pay for if he was still in jail could bankrupt the county. So that is something that they did take into consideration when they did issue that bond there. We also know that Elizabeth's attorney has also asked for recognizance bond. In both of those requests from their attorneys, they did write that they don't have the ability to pay any bond at all, which is why they're asking for that recognizance. So that would basically allow them to be released from jail with an ankle monitor, and then they wouldn't have to pay anything. It's basically a promise that they'll come back to court here. I did also ask, we heard from Elizabeth's attorney yesterday, and he brought up something that a lot of people have been asking is, could Elizabeth have been a victim in this case? Now, he said, the prosecutor today said that that is not the case that he believes. He said that Elizabeth's attorney said that she's not a victim, but we did hear a little differently from her attorney yesterday. He said that it is something that he is looking into as a possibility, but that she herself doesn't identify as a victim. So that's a big question too. Another thing I asked is, do the children have birth certificates? And he kind of thought about that for a second and couldn't quite answer. So that's a big question as well. We learned this morning that Elizabeth did give birth to those twins who didn't survive back in 2022 at Riverside Hospital. So we know that she was there in the hospital. But yeah, still so many questions. Back to you guys.
Yeah, Carla, that was a pretty powerful moment when you asked that question. We heard your voice very specifically asking if there are birth certificates for all of the children. He paused for quite a bit of time. As you said, there's still so much, Angela, that we don't know.
Right. And so, Carla, let me ask you about that significance behind those birth certificates, behind, the reason why you asked him. And I mean, is there a question about the ages of these children, given that there's so much uncertainty?
I think there's just so much, we don't know how many children Elizabeth has allegedly given birth to. He wouldn't even go too far to say that there's been testing to confirm that she's the mother of all the children. We do know her attorney said that that is the case. But I think the bigger question is just, did anyone know that these children existed? We know they didn't go to school. Did relatives know about them? Neighbors said that they'd never seen kids in the house. If they were born in a hospital and had birth certificates, and maybe there is some record of the kids, maybe they were receiving some sort of state assistance, he wouldn't answer those questions too about whether they were getting money for the kids.
Carla Rogner, they're live for us outside Vinton County, where we received an update from the prosecutor there in this child endangerment case involving 16 kids discovered last week.
So, Carla, we're going to keep you on standby here, but we want to remind everyone, of course, this story has really rocked the Vinton County community, but really the entire state of Ohio since we learned about this a week ago. Monday, several people together held a prayer vigil for the 16 children. That was just 2 days ago. The state now, again, assisting Vinton County in finding foster care placement for the children. Now, you're looking at this outpouring of response from the community members, also from South Central Ohio Job and Family Services. They are all working with attorneys to establish some kind of trust to make sure those donations end up in the right hands.
The agency has issued a warning regarding an Amazon wish list that's out there circulating online, advising people to instead donate through the official channels. So we continue to watch what's happening there in Vinton County. And as Carla said, still so many questions left in this investigation because there were so many questions the prosecutor could not answer today.
Yes. So certainly a story that we are going to continue to follow. We do have team coverage of this. And again, 10 TV has been in Vinton County since the day these kids were discovered.
We're going to continue our live team coverage this afternoon starting on 10 TV News at 4. We hope you will join us then. And of course, we have extensive coverage on this case right now on 10tv.com and right here on our 10TV streaming app. Download our app for free. Turn on push alerts for the latest information. We'll send that straight to your phone.